Oceans are extremely important to the Earth. They provide food, regulate temperatures, and many medicines have been discovered through the research of marine life. But the oceans and all the life in them are being impacted by climate change resulting from human activity. The life in the ocean, big and small, are being threatened. As the CO2 in the atmosphere rises, the pH level in the ocean decreases and becomes more acidic. This process is known as ocean acidification. The higher acidity in the ocean creates many problems for life in the ocean. Coral has a harder time to build their skeletal homes. Clams, mussels, sea urchins, and some plankton cannot build protective shells. With less coral to build homes and hide from predators, smaller fish are much more vulnerable. Coral is not only affected by the rising acidity in the water, but also the rising temperatures. Corals are very sensitive to heat and pollution. When they get stressed, they expel the algae that provides them with their food supply. The food gives them energy to grow, and without it, it dies and becomes a white skeleton. This is happening all over the world, and the coral can rarely recover from this. Coral reefs are not only beautiful, but they provide many things. Thousands of marine animals, including fish, crabs, shrimp, turtles, and birds, depend on coral reefs for survival. They provide food and shelter for small organisms that are food for larger animals. Even humans rely on the reefs, as many people depend on fish for food and income. Over 75% of the world's coral reefs have already experienced bleaching due to stress, and as the oceans continue to get warmer, the number will keep getting higher. When there is not enough oxygen in the water, fish cannot live. Across the oceans, there are areas that cannot support any life due to the lack of oxygen. This is known as ocean dead zone. Warmer water holds less oxygen, so as the Earth's ocean's temperature rises, the oxygen in the water decreases. Waste from agriculture and industrial activities spill into the ocean and provide excess nutrients. The nitrogen and phosphorus enter the water and fertilize blooms of algae. When the algae dies, the decomposition process consumes all the oxygen around it. Without oxygen, fish and all the life in the zones literally suffocate. The number of dead zones has already quadrupled since 1950. There are about 405 known dead zones in the world's oceans. The largest known dead zone is in the Gulf of Mexico, which is where 40% of the United States seafood comes from. In 1988, the dead zone was 15 square miles. Today, it is over 7,000 square miles and continues to grow. That's roughly the size of the state of Massachusetts, and no life can exist in this area. Marine animals migrate in order to find food, safer conditions, and to breed. Some animals will travel thousands of miles to find this. This is a survival instinct that animals have had for millions of years. As the temperature in the ocean changes, animal migration patterns have been drastically affected. Fish depend on consistent temperatures to stay alive. As the ocean temperature rises, they seek cooler temperatures. Larger predators, such as sharks, are extremely sensitive to any change in their environment. They have to follow smaller fish, which are their food source. Whale populations are declining rapidly. Their main food source is krill and plankton, which cannot survive as the climate is changing. Scientists say the whales they see in the ocean now are starving, sick, and have parasites. The whales swim thousands of miles to give birth with very little food. Due to this lack of food and changing temperatures, migrations are starting earlier and they are traveling further. As the food supply continues to decrease, the whales will not reproduce. These large animals are essential to the ecosystem of the ocean. If they cannot survive, other animals will also be threatened. Another way the oceans and marine life are being threatened by human activity is pollution. Not only are they being polluted from runoff and CO2 emissions, but also from trash. Litter enters the ocean through storm drains, sewers, and other routes. Most of the garbage that finds its way into the ocean is single-use plastic, such as grocery bags, water bottles, drinking straws, and other plastic that is thrown away instead of recycled. Plastic waste is extremely harmful and potentially deadly to animals because they can be ingested or become entangled. Sea turtles can mistake trash bags as jellyfish, which are their main source of food. The plastic waste can cause fatal blockages in their digestive system. Millions of marine birds also die each year from eating plastic. Whales, dolphins, sharks, and sea lions can become entangled in plastic debris. This can cause serious injury and death to animals who already have many threats against them. An estimated 1.15 to 2.41 million tons of plastic enters the ocean each year. This waste is swept up in the rotating currents and has formed huge garbage patches. There are 5 of these patches in the oceans, but the largest one is the Great Pacific Garbage Patch, which is located halfway between Hawaii and California. This is a huge patch of garbage in the ocean that is over twice the size of Texas. Ocean acidification, coral bleaching, ocean dead zones, and altered migration patterns are just some of the many ways humans have impacted the oceans. Every human in the world depends on the oceans for survival. It provides us with recreation, food, transportation, oxygen, climate regulation, and more. Climate change and pollution has already done irreversible damage to the oceans. Every human needs to do better and find ways to protect the ocean.